How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the garage. We are hanging out in here today. So I was making a series video of restoring the drill press. However, I've had some technical difficulties. I still plan on putting out the first video, so the first video is going to be out before I even launch this. But in the first video, I filmed a lot of stuff, and I broke my laptop, so it doesn't take an SD card anymore. And so I had to take the SD card, put it in my wife's computer, transfer the files from SD card on my wife's computer to a USB, and then put the USB in my laptop. And that seems to have not done the job for me. It kind of like deleted half the footage. So basically now I'm just like, I'm gonna put up whatever I have of the footage, and in this second video I'll just kind of pick up where I sort of left off. And I was trying to transfer all that files over, and I was like waiting to transfer the files over so that way I could empty out my SD card and then start the second video. My plan was to just pick it up right after the first video, but it's when I kind of ran into issues with everything. So I'm picking it up now, but I have done some work off camera, so we'll go over that right now. All right, so like I said, I did some work off camera. I don't know if you guys remember or not, but I mean, of course you do. If you watch the video, it's literally right there. Anyway, the post for the drill press was really rusted, like super bad pits in it, just lots of surface rust, and I didn't really know what the metal of the post looked like underneath all that rust. I knew that there were some pits in it, especially towards the bottom, but it was pretty pitted throughout the whole thing. So I did the best that I could with what I had to polish it all back and try and get rid of most of the rust. And for the most part, it came out pretty good. You can still see some of the, where the lines were from. This is like where the table for the drill press was, but all of this right here is still pretty heavily pitted. I don't want to, I probably could get most of this out, but it's not really, I could probably get most of this out. But it's just like, it's really, I can barely feel it. Like there's like little divots, but I'm honestly worried about removing too much material to the point where, it doesn't quite tighten correctly. But for what it is, it's pretty good. I polished it back pretty good, and doing it was sort of a nightmare. I was literally using like a orbital sander. And I just brought it outside, and I was just going over the whole thing with an orbital sander. I did like 80 grit for a minute, but then I was like really worried about, again, removing too much material. I don't think I'm going to with 80 grit. It's just better safe than sorry. So then I did, So then I did like some 120, and then I did 220 with the orbital sander, and then I went through with hand sanding it with spraying water on it and using 400, 800, and then I just went straight to 2000. And then after that, I hit it with some rubbing compound to try and take some of the heavier scratches out. And it's really smooth to the touch for the most part, besides the pits in it. But yeah, I would prefer that it was super shiny and perfect, but this is what you get when you had something that was as rusted as this was. But it's okay. It's going to serve its purpose, and it's still going to look pretty. So either way, I'm kind of happy with it. I wish it was better. I honestly feel like if I maybe had like a handheld belt sander with like a Scotch-Brite belt on it, I probably could have got it a lot better than this. But I would have been a little bit worried about taking some of those pits out, because I probably will still be able to tighten up around the post, but I want to make sure that I can. So I don't know. I'm kind of rambling and saying the same thing over and over again, but yeah, It's polished for the most part, about the best that I could. And then we've got the other parts sitting over there in the parts cleaner. Ignore the heater, I used it this morning. And then again, some parts over here on top of my little fab cart. One thing that I did realize is, another thing I did off camera was I removed the pulley off of the motor. And from what it looks like is the pulley has been off of the motor before. You could see some, I don't know if I can get it to focus, but you can see some really heavy gouge marks from somebody reassembling it, and they really hammered down on those set screws. And the only problem is it looks like they've taken it off a couple times, because whenever they took it off again, or when they went to go put it back on after tightening it up, basically the raised metal that they made come up from the set screws, I'm assuming that they had to hammer that pulley back on, and when they did, they slightly bent the shaft. So I clamped the motor back down and was like lightly hitting it with a dead blow to try and get it to, because at first it wouldn't even spin like by hand. I had to really push on it, which is weird because it worked great when I first got it. But I went ahead and got it to start spinning free. It's still got a slight bend in it. I don't know if you can pick it up on camera. That's it. That's wiggling on the cart, but trying to show there's still a little bit of a bend in it. I mean, I'm hoping it's okay. If not, I'll figure something out. But my only worries now is that if the pulley is not sitting level, it might spit the belt off of it while I'm using it, which could be super annoying. So that's the only other issue so far. That, and I would like to replace the switch. It looks pretty beat up, especially after taking it apart. But anyway, we're gonna go clean some other parts and just get into this episode. I don't know if this is the best angle, but hey, you know. I don't know what it is about Simple Green, but it's like got paint stripping properties. Everything I've put in here so far that sat overnight is literally stripping paint off of stuff. I'm not sure if that's good, but makes it easier for me. Okay, well, I tried to do that here in the garage on my welding table, and I thoroughly regret it. I have made an absolute disaster of my welding table and some of my tools. I blew everything off with my air compressor, but I made a mess, and I'm gonna have to sand the table down and put PP Blaster on it again, because I literally wire wheeled rust all over it, and it's a bare metal table. So that's gonna take up some time. But that being said, this thing is sorry. So this thing is wire wheeled down, the whole thing. I mean, like, it is significantly cleaner now. It definitely made a huge difference to wire wheel it. So from what I could see after wire wheeling it, everything that was real thick on here was just from metal dropping some chips from drilling on the table. And then it just sat here for so long that it just built up and basically became one with the table. But wire wheeling it, or with the base, and wire wheeling it made it come right off. Now, I need to look online, but this, I mean, it's like really heavily rusted, and I could probably put some like rust converter on it and get all this black out of it, but this is me going over it with a lot of different stuff. I mean, I even went down to a hard disk on it because I thought maybe I just could chew away some of this black, but it's really fighting me. And then, you know, I did a 60 grit flat wheel and 80 grit flat wheel, and then I hit it with a 3M pad, round 3M pad, and I just can't get it to come out shiny. Whereas I think this is going to be, I think the table is going to be way easier to get this to be shiny. I mean, it looks like it might have some paint on it where it's just dulled out, but this is going to be way easier, I think, to get shiny. This, I don't even know, like I said, I need to look online. I don't even know if the tables or if the bases were polished on these drill presses. I just assume so, which I shouldn't do because it makes me look like an idiot, but sorry. But I don't even know if they came with a polished base. So I'm gonna take a look online, see if I can find any pictures of it. If it doesn't come with a polished base, I'm probably still going to like semi-do one. I mean, it might not be polished, but I'll get it as close as I can. Like right now, I'm done grinding on it. I think what I'm gonna do now is run the Orbo sander on it, and I'm gonna do 80, 120, 220, and then I'll hand polish it out with like maybe 1500 and 2000 just to like see if I can get it to be shiny. If not, no big deal. But I will leave it however I get it, wherever I get it to, and then the rest of it will be painted. But I'm gonna start on the Orbo sanding on this base right now, and then yeah, so I'm gonna bring you along for that. Well, I'm doing it now. Pads, sander, let's rock and roll. Okay, I have found out that neither the table or the base have polished faces on here on this version of my drill press. I have a 15-017, and I looked it up, and there are people who have restored them, and they've had a little bit better equipment to like to face this and then polish it out, and people did do that, but all of the pictures of just completely factory ones are painted. So these are all painted, which would explain why the finish isn't exactly what I want. Granted, it is rusted, but I think I'm going to just continue doing what I'm doing anyway. Get it as close to a nice clean surface as I can, and then I'm gonna tape it off and paint the rest of it anyway. Even though it won't be polished, I still think it'll give it a pretty good contrast and it'll look cool. So I definitely think I'm going to just go ahead, finish out with the pads, do a little bit of hand sanding to kind of make it really shiny, or what will be shiny will be shiny. And then we'll just go from there. So I'm just going to keep hitting at it. One thing that I'm starting to learn, I need more workspaces. Well, it's really smooth, that's for sure. I don't even know if I'm gonna hit it with 2000. This is with 1500, and it's pretty good. Alright, after quite a while of sanding and more sanding and more sanding, yeah, this is the kind of the finish I've got. I mean, you can see the camera in it. It does have like a polished look to it, but there's just still so much pitting and damage from the rust, and from whatever, I'm guessing whatever cast iron this is causing it to be a little bit difficult to get it to polish out right, and the rust and whatever paint they had it covered in, excuses, but yeah, this is about as good as I can get with the hand tools that I've got, and I would say it looks pretty cool. I think honestly, once I tape it off and paint the rest of this, it's gonna kind of give a really cool contrast, and it'll look like an old piece of machinery, which is kind of what I'm going for. So I'm cool with the vibe it's giving off right now. All right, so we polished this out, got it all wire wheeled down. All the rust is off of it. All the bad stuff is off of it. I'm going to give it a quick wipe with some mineral spirits, and then I think we're going to come back tomorrow, which will only be a second for you, but we're going to come back tomorrow, and we're going to give this a coat of paint and have it cure for as long as possible. And then I think we're going to put the post back in the base here after we get some paint on it. I think it's going to look pretty sweet. I have an idea of what color I want to paint it. I mean, it's not like it's a surprise or anything, but you'll see it here in just a second. But I think it's going to look pretty sweet once I get it painted. So yeah, let's come back here in a second, and we will throw some paint on this bad beast right here. It's gonna be pretty sweet. I've decided for some brake clean instead. This will get rid of all that oil and everything off of it, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. So hard today. I'm just taking a little bit of a break because I'm trying to get as much done so I can kind of maybe summarize it all in the end of this video. We're still on part 2, but it is the next day. But I have the table sitting outside on some sawhorses. I just got done painting it, and I polished the work surface of it. It actually looks pretty good. I'm excited to see how it looks once I get the whole thing painted. But that is outside. I just cleaned it off and put some etching primer on it. But the base is done. And this is kind of the first look at it with the paint. It's a little tacky still, but it's pretty dry for the most part. I'm going to peel off the tape right here on video, but this is the color I'm going with. Pretty much any old equipment that I get, I'm going to restore in this color. It's just like a dark gray. Pretty much all your standard machine stuff comes in a dark gray like this, but this was also etch primed, and then 2 coats of the color, and then on the bottom I did an etch prime, and I did like 2 really thick coats of Plasti Dip. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are like, why are you using Plasti Dip, blah, 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 blah. Well, Plasti Dip is a rubberized coating, and I mean, it even specifically says on the can that it helps with vibration, and I figured, granted it is a heavy cast iron drill press, but if I put a little bit of that rubberized coating on the bottom of it, if there is any vibration, maybe that'll help with it. And on top of that, I'm not going to paint the bottom of it because you're not going to see it. So I decided to just put that rubberized coating on it. It will protect it, and maybe it'll combat any vibration that might be in the drill press. But let's peel off the tape just to take a look at the surface. I mean, like I said, it's not mirror polished like I wanted it to be, but it should be good. So let's take a look at it. Hopefully this is a good view, but I'm gonna peel off some of this tape here. This, before I put the post in, I actually just oiled it down again this morning, but I'm going to just take some sandpaper in here and clean this up a little bit. But yeah, let's try and pick off some of this tape. There it is. There's the finished base. Polished surface, like I said. Well, you know, not exactly polished, but at least left kind of raw. And then the painted base. I think it's going to look really nice once I get that drill press, basically the post mounted back up there. And then I think the whole drill press in that color is going to look really nice. So we're going to come back with a quick update. I'm gonna try and put the post back in. Not really sure how I'm gonna do that because you have to put the U-bolt on. Oh, actually, speaking of that, I went ahead and cleaned the hardware up for it that goes underneath it. This is the U-bolt that is going to mount the post. At least keep the post tight to the base. You put this on and then hammer down the nuts, and then everything should be good. I cleaned that up, and I'm not really sure how I'm going to get the post in there. The post is sitting on jack stands like it has been, but I don't want to dangle the base from the end of it. So we're probably going to have to figure out another way to do it. Maybe stand it up and set it in there, but then I can't get to the bottom of it, so I'm probably going to have to do it on the jack stands like it is, but we'll go ahead and try and do that now. There it is. Standing on its own again. That's pretty sweet. I'm actually pretty excited about the way that looks. I put a little bit of a handprint over there in the corner of it, but I'm thinking that I could probably slap a little spray of paint on there and then we'll be good. But I think it looks really good, man. Even the tube, I mean, I'm gonna wipe it back down again here in just a second with some PB Blaster. It's still got a coat of it on there now, but nice and shiny. Base looks good. And I am pretty happy with that outcome. So I need to clean up my welding table because I've been doing most of this work on here. A lot of this project has kind of made me realize that I need some more workbenches. So I need more space in general, but I definitely need some more workbenches. But yeah, so I got the table sitting out there. I'm going to finish that up off camera, and then on the next episode of this, it will be ready to be put on the drill press stand, the post, and then we're gonna get to work on the head. On a lot of this stuff, I've already started hitting it with the wire wheel. This is actually the quill stop that I got from a gentleman on Facebook. I think his name was Mark. Again, I appreciate it, Mark, I really do. And I got this all wire wheeled and ready to be painted. So we'll get that painted up. Here's all the pile of parts that I plan on polishing. So I'm going to polish those with, I'm going to put the polishing wheel on here with some compound, get all that stuff polished. These have a little bit of a haze to them, pulleys. I'm going to wash these with some Dawn dish soap, and hopefully that will get the haze off of it. It usually does. Normally you can wipe the haze right off with your fingers, but yeah, it's starting to come off fine. So that'll be good once I wash that by hand. I wanted to polish them, but I'm kind of realizing it's going to be a little bit difficult to polish them. I just don't know how I'm going to get in all the grooves and everything. But yeah, so I mean, the wonders of a water wheel really cleans everything up perfect. So I'm actually pretty excited to put this thing back together and have all the shininess to it. But anyway, this can be it for this episode. Please stay tuned for the next one, like, subscribe, etc., etc. I really appreciate you guys watching. It's awesome. Look at this thing. It's freaking sweet. Can't wait to get the table on it. Anyway, please come back for the next one. We'll see you then. I appreciate it. Peace.